What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to episode 42 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And today we got about a 23-minute episode. We're going to be picking up where we left off, working on the saucer section of the ship. Now, I actually had some people dropping comments last week because I probably noticed last week I didn't have any videos out, and I decided to take a short break from doing videos because I was crazy busy at work last week, and it just seemed like a good time to take a short break. But we're going to be picking right back up where we left off, doing videos Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays again, and going to try to run this out until we get to the end of this build. So without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. This center oval, this is actually going to become our captain's yacht, because this is actually where the captain's yacht is located on the Enterprise D. And I'm trying to anticipate the layering of the sides of the saucer, where it's going to meet with the lower side. So we're going to be adding 3 layers to this. Well, I should say another 2, bringing it to a total of 3 layers. But this is definitely going to be a crazy long tutorial series because I'm still currently right in the middle of this build myself where I'm at, and I'm much further along than I'm currently at in this episode. I'm really trying to flesh out the lower section of the lower hull. I'm deep into getting a lot of that stuff done. I was actually just working on the inner workings of the deflector dish. Engineering's pretty much done, but there's so many engineering sections on the lower section of the lower hull that you never see in the show. And I've been trying to look for reference material, but I really haven't been too successful. So what I've ended up having to do is just fall on any type of concept art and things like that I can find, whether it's related to the Galaxy class or ships somewhat like it, and try to blend that into something that feels like the Enterprise D, which is going to be pretty difficult to do, but I think I'm going to be able to pull it off. So far, I'm actually really happy with how the interior is coming out, and I actually can't wait to share that with you guys because I think you'll be very happy with it, because a lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing on the Enterprise D, I've never done on any of my ships before. So that's going to be pretty cool. So definitely keep an eye out on for that. And of course, if there's stuff that you want to see me do, be sure to drop a comment below because I definitely need suggestions, and I love to hear from the community as far as what you want to see. So definitely let me know in the comment section. You never know, I might end up just doing it. But anyway, now that we added in our layering on the middle oval, now we're going to pick right up where we left off in episode 41, layering the underside of our deflect or saucer section. So we're just literally going to be going along the outline here, the bottom outline, with a row of white concrete, and we're just going to do this going all the way around. Now we're probably not going to be adding in too many more layers to this. We're kind of approaching the bottom row at this point. Because you don't want this lower section to be too thick, but at the same time, it can't be too skinny either. And I wish I had a set number on how many that's going to be, but this is just going to be one of those things where we basically just got to eye it. That's honestly how I do these builds. I look at what I've done. I go back to source material. In this case, the best thing you could possibly do is go on Google and do a search for U.S.S. Enterprise D 3D model. That'll let you pan the ship around and look at it from multiple angles to give you a good field of view perspective on the proportions on different areas of the ship. And that's exactly what I've done here. Because there's no blueprints for this. We literally just got to look at our source and decide how close our ship is to that source. One of the things that I noticed is that the lower section of the saucer section definitely has kind of like that dome dish that kind of bows down a little bit. And of course, my cat here just decided to press the pause button on my video. My cats, of course, don't understand that I'm doing videos on here. I've got one on my left side and one on my right side. Two cats, Leo and Leia. Anyway, getting a little bit back what we got going on here, we're just going to wrap this going all the way around. We're not doing anything fancy, we're going with a cut line. As long as you're doing that, you can't make any mistakes right here. So far, we're in pretty good shape. Yeah, pretty much for the next couple of episodes, we're going to be focusing on the saucer, trying to get a lot of that done. One thing we are going to be doing here, probably in the next couple of episodes, is we're going to start working on the corridors because we need to do that while our saucer is still open. Because once we close it in, it's just going to become a nightmare trying to get all that done. All right. We are in pretty good shape. We've done that layer going all the way around, looking pretty good so far. The one and only thing I don't like is now that we've done, we've just gone off the original oval that we started going down at an angle. Now this bottom row that we're at, the oval is somewhat distorted, but I'm going to show you guys how to fix that later on. Now we're going to get ready to move on to the next section of the build. You can see I'm putting a gray block at the end of our x-axis points, but before it meets our, we're actually right on the lip of our oval. And the reason I'm doing that is because that's going to be based off of a starting point, because I'm going to be attempting something in today's episode. I'm going to be winging an oval as opposed to going to pixel circle generator. At this point, I've got several templates here going around the ship for ovals. So I'm going to try to show you how you can cheat a little bit, where if you want to save a little bit of time, one thing you need to do is count out on the left side and the right side, because you want to make sure your starting points are exactly the same. We're going to do the same thing on this side. We're on the right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now the front and back isn't so important. You can see I'm doing 5 on the front and back. So I've got kind of a good dimension on where my oval is going to start. And we're going to go in the front. We're going to add a couple more rows to match the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it should put that at 10. And what we're going to attempt to do here, and now you see I'm counting this out, and one of the reasons I'm going to touch on this is I'm counting this out for those of you that don't want to try to wing this, that want to just stick with what you know and use a pixel circle generator. And this is how we do it. We start from our center and we go out by 1. Or not by 1, but you count out as many that you need to cut out, or count out that you want it to be, and then that's half of your circle. But in this case, the oval is going to be a little bit trickier. So that's why you're going to see me counting these out. Just for those of you that want to implement that. So just what I counted off that side, you're going to multiply that by 2. That's going to be your width. So it's always easy to remember that the width is the left and right side of your ship, and the height is the front and back. But getting back in what I was just going to mention a second ago, what I'm basically going to end up doing here is I'm going to be taking the template that I used for one of our other ovals that we did here, and I'm going to be cutting a section of it off. basically, to make it just a little bit smaller. And I'm basically just recycling the template because you can totally do stuff like that, at least with an oval anyway. All right, now we just need to cut out front and back here. I'll start any time now. There we go. So now it's going to be the same deal. Once we get out to that ending marker that we're going to stop on, that's half of your height. You just multiply that number by 2. This is actually a great example for building ovals and circles, and you're doing things like this. You're not exactly sure on how big it's going to be. Now, when you're doing circles, all 4 of the access points are going to be exactly the same. Of course, when you're doing an oval, the height is going to be shorter than the width. And that's to give you that oval, of course. And it's imperative. Now see, here we go. Going off the pixel circle generator for those of you that need this. And actually, I'm going to go back just for a second. So on our width, we have 155. And then our height, we have 73. This is exactly the dimensions that we just counted out, basically. The height, half this, you times that by 2, gives you 73. The same thing for the width. We're going to be going down 1 because we want this to stick out a little bit. So we're going to be building that underneath our line of white quartz. This is going to basically be an additional layer. Now I could even actually be wrong. I might not have winged this out. I don't know why I remember doing that. That could have been the case because I either winged it and then deleted it and then went off that pixel circle generator. But I don't know why, but I remember winging this part of it. But I could be wrong. I might have actually done that off camera, actually, now that I think about it, and then decided that when I winged it, it just didn't come out right. So for that reason, I think at this point, we're just going to go off the pixel circle generator. Yeah, we're doing this live. That's always a tricky thing when you're working on your ovals or circles. It's kind of hard. The bigger you go, the harder it's going to be to get it right. That's one thing I've just learned from experience building these things myself. Um, I've done several ships at this point, and I've always had the same problem. When you go big and you try to build an oval or a circle from scratch, no matter how much you plan it out, it's going to get distorted. Or it's not going to be perfect. So that's my main reason why I use that pixel circle generator, because it just keeps our ship in proportions within the shape that it's supposed to be in. This is the only area that you ever see me using the pixel circle generator is when we're doing our saucer, or if in the case that our lower hull has a built off of a cone or circle shape, then I'll use it for that. But That's usually the only times I'll ever use it. This is as close as we're going to get to having a blueprint here. And it's the same thing as my process on when I'm doing any other oval or circle. You're cutting it into 4 slices, top, down, left, and right. And you only need one of those corners, and you're going to be repeating that process 4 times. So to save time, I'm trying to do 2 sides at once, and then I'm going over to the other side of the ship and repeating that same process. Now, if you really wanted to, you could do one side at a time, but I really don't like to do that too much because just my own experience, I found that when you do one at a time, you're more likely to make a mistake somewhere. You're less likely to make a mistake if you're doing all 4 sides basically at the same time. Because it seems like, for me anyway, no matter how much you plan out, inevitably somewhere you're going to make a mistake. And it's not a big deal. It just, that's why we double check our work. That's why if we do one thing on one side, we do it on the other. And that's why in this case, we're trying to build out all 4 sides at the same time and try to narrow down and eliminate as many of those mistakes as we can. But then after we're done with this, we'll go back and check our work and see how accurate it is. And that's not a huge deal. Anywhere that we need to make corrections, we'll make corrections. But this is why I make the decisions that I make and why I have the rules that I have, to try to eliminate as many of those mistakes as possible. But at the end of the day, you're building something like this, no matter how good you are or think that you are, human error is always going to be a factor in that. So just have those rules in place. And I'm not saying to use my same rules because everybody's different at the end of the day. Um, some of you might have a totally different set of rules that you use to help you to not make these mistakes. But basically, what I'm doing is I'm not, preaching or saying this is what you have to do. I'm just trying to show the steps that I've taken in hopes of showing people that either don't know exactly what to do, have never done this before, or they're looking for a starting point and tips on all the things that I do, because I'm hoping that by learning these things and watching my process from beginning to end, that you can start to develop this building skill yourself. And I've done this over the course, and I've learned this over the course of several builds on my ships. And I'm not a greedy person. At the end of the day, I'm very happy to share my knowledge on what I know, how I build my ships on here. And the way I look at it is, this is something I'd never want to hide from anybody, because I've spent years developing this on how to build ships like this. And I'm actually kind of, well, I'm not surprised, but I'm pleasantly surprised that the process that I've used to, where we started building the Constitution class, that I've been able to transition this into building different types of classes. And I've been able to basically prove that you can take this same method and apply it to any build, you know? So hopefully you guys are enjoying this and learning a little bit while we're doing it. Because I don't know about you, I actually have a ton of fun building these ships on Minecraft. It's a great hobby, and I recommend it for anybody that hasn't done it before. You've never built a ship on Minecraft, but you enjoy building, or you're creative and you want to, scratch that creative itch, try it out. You might surprise yourself with how fun it can actually be, and it takes your mind off of stuff. When I'm building on Minecraft, I don't think about anything else other than what I'm working on, and that's pretty much solely because my mind is just thinking on what I'm working on in that moment and things that I want to add to my ship. It's just, I'm basically consumed with that. And I think that's definitely something that's necessary right now with all the crazy stuff going on. It's nice to have something to kind of give you a break of all the crap that's going on in the world. So for that reason, I absolutely love shipbuilding, and it also scratches my creative itch, because I think I've talked about this in the past. I used to build models, and I used to paint them and do all that stuff. But where I live at now, my apartment complex, I really don't have a place that I can do all that. Of course, yeah, I can build them, but I wouldn't be able to paint them and do the things that I used to do before. So that kind of, has given me or at least having Minecraft has given me that outlet again. Being that creativeness is something I used to do too. And I don't think I've even mentioned this before. I used to quite a bit of an artist. I'd never say I'd be fantastic, but I could definitely draw, and I was pretty good with colors and things like that. But as I've gotten older, I just don't have time to do stuff like that anymore. So I've kind of you kind of like, especially like as you get older, you have to work more and you have more responsibilities. So you kind of have to like pick and choose, what things you're going to do for fun. And one of the things that ultimately led me to not, really drawing anymore is this the amount of time I'd have to put into it. I'd have to pretty much dedicate a good portion of my time into doing stuff like that. And I just decided one day, like, I really don't want to do that anymore. There's other things that I can do that I can still exercise that creativeness and still have a lot of fun with it. Now, with that being said, I still draw every once in a while and do things like that, but usually it's when I'm doodling at my desk, when I'm in between when I'm working, I don't have anything to do, but it's nothing serious like I used to do in the past. Or maybe I work up a quick sketch to help me with my build on Minecraft, or maybe I might do a poster for my servers that I do for Ark and some of the other games that I host on the sides. But anyway, I kind of went off the rails a little bit there and got off topic. But the point is that it's always important to be creative and to have, creative outlets because it helps take your mind off things and it can be a lot of fun. Anyway, we're really rocking here. We're getting this oval pretty much almost to the point of being completed. I think this is actually going to be consuming up our whole episode here, but this is going to be a very important step. We need this in order to get to the next point that we need to be. You can see now I'm going back and I'm double checking my work to make sure both sides match up. Now, another thing that you can do here on your cut lines, if you're not sure that one side meets the other one, like when we did our engines, you can do a builder line with the blue going from one end to the other one to see if both cut lines match up. Um, that's not something I am going to do here, but if you wanted to do that, you totally could do that to help you just to make sure that your cut lines are matching up. All right, got a couple more rows to do here. I'll be that much closer to closing in the lower side of our saucer section. Because once we close in this lower side, then we got to add in a couple more layers up top and then do our corridors, and then we'll close in the top section. But I think even without this line, of course, you get a really good scale of how big this interior is going to be. And the roof, the top portion of the saucer section, it's not even done yet. We've got some more layers, so it's going to have a little bit more height on it. Which is just going to be awesome because we're going to be we're going to have room to pretty much do virtually anything and everything that we could possibly want to do with our saucer section. That's one thing I've actually have really been able to enjoy on this build, that I've never had in the past the luxury of being able to do exactly what I want in every single section of the ship. Um, I've always been uh, constrained by space in some way or another. And I'll be honest, virtually I haven't had that issue with any section of the ship, with an exception of the bridge. The bridge was the only place during this entire build that I had no constraint issues whatsoever. But when I built the bridge out, I realized that um, I was either going to have to do one or two things. I was either going to have to sacrifice the proportions of my ship and build out a ginormous structure on the outside middle portion here for where the bridge was going to go in order to encompass a complete one-for-one replica of the conference room and also um, Kirk's ready room. Now, with that being said, I ultimately ended up going with a much smaller version to match the proportions of the rest of the ship, but I was still able to fit in the conference room and Captain Picard's ready room. But that's the only place on the entire ship that I had to do that. Every single other area on this ship, I haven't had any constraint issues whatsoever. But I think that's going to wrap us up today. We've gotten a decent amount done. At this point, we're going to be closing in our lower hull here, and I might touch on that in tomorrow's episode. We're either going to add another layer here on the lip that we're on, or we're just going to or we're going to fill all this in on that current row that we're on, and just bring that all the way up to this uh, inner oval or inner oval that we added. But we'll get into that tomorrow. Um, but anyway, I think that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. And if you did enjoy this content, help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And new subscribers, don't forget to hit notifications on so you always get notified when those new videos drop. And speaking of new videos, you can always catch my new Minecraft videos dropping Tuesdays through Thursdays. And of course, if you have any questions regarding this build, or if there's something that you want to see me build on the Enterprise D or otherwise, anything nerd related, or just to drop by and say, hey, be sure to drop a comment below. Definitely love to hear from everybody. But yeah, I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. I hope everybody has a happy and safe week, and I'll catch you on the next episode.